Detroit Become Human feels like it has a character creator, even though it doesn't. It feels that way because the story is so customizable. There are more than 1,000 different ways the journey can end. Whatever you do is truly a reflection of your own decision-making aesthetic. It's so personal that it feels like you're living these characters' lives. Then, just like in real life, the game makes you rehash every decision you made. In Detroit, it's a nifty little flowchart, where in real life, it's hours of uttering the words stupid, stupid, stupid to yourself in the dark. Anyway, if you want a deeply relatable sci-fi adventure that will fill you with regret, this game is for you, like it was for me. I'm Julia, and this is Controller Freak. In Detroit Become Human, the story takes place in future Michigan. You play as Markus, Kara, and Connor, 3 distinctly different androids who will find their way through the story as revolutionary, mother, and conflicted cop, respectively. These 3 protagonists negotiate their roles in the emerging android rights movement, each facing a pivotal decision to become deviant, or break from one's programming and begin to use free will. You, as the player, undertake a series of PlayStation controller gymnastics to avoid bullets, knives, and bad conversation. After each scene, you'll review a flowchart of how your choices played out. You'll see what percentage of other players across the globe had the same successes you had, endured the same failures you endured, or perpetrated the same war crimes you perpetrated. Can you beat the game, keep all 3 androids alive, and make peace with your unconscionable choices? Listeners, beware. Detroit becomes spoilers. Here we are, ready to talk about Detroit Become Human. It's me, Julia, and my 2 androids. Say hi, guys.
Hello, Julia. I know a lot of things about you, Julia.
Oh, good. We're off to a good start. That's, of course, something we'll describe later, I'm sure. Android voices and the way they talk. But before that, we have a big game to unpack. And I want to start with a very simple question. This game is Detroit Become Human. Do you guys feel more human or less human after your playthrough? Oh,
much more human.
More human.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because this game is about what it means to be human. And you end up learning a lot of things about yourself and the most human parts of you. Mm-hmm. You know?
Good. Aaron, what about you?
Well, I feel as human. I don't think it had an effect on my humanity. Mm-hmm. Because if anything, I think the game talks about how humans don't have a monopoly necessarily on morality or specialness as sentient creatures. So if anything, it maybe it took away from my humanity a little bit because I felt less special about being human.
Interesting. We're on a spectrum here because I feel decidedly less human after playing that game.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I feel like you're absolutely right. It makes you, and Owen, you're right too, like very privy to what makes humanity is not what you're created out of, but like, you know, what you do, the choices you make, how you interact in the world, how much agency you have, and all of these things are the things that androids end up having in the end of this game, or have always had, and they embrace. And I just thought, gee, I don't do a lot of those things. I'm more android than human, you know? I just feel more like, agency is scary. I don't like to make choices. I'm so much happier just being someone's cyber life bot. You know what I mean? A little bit of the control out of my hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you at work being asked to do something you don't want to do or you feel like is wrong.
I'm not programmed for that.
The little red you wouldn't come out and like fight against your programming as they do in Detroit Become Human when you start to become deviant.
No.
You battle against the wall of your programming.
No, I've never had that moment.
Yeah.
I've never had that moment. I'm extremely complacent, and I have never had that break through the red panic wall where I need to do something. I was like, wow, I can't relate to humans. And I was just saying to my therapist the other day, like, is being human even worth it? It's so much work. And she was just like, Julia, I'm not going down this existential rabbit hole with you. It's not productive. And I was like, well, Janet, that is literally the point of Detroit Become Human, so the joke's on you, I guess.
She's like, you're sounding a bit like a deviant.
Yeah.
Julia.
There might be a flaw in your programming, Julia.
And you're like, wait, what are you talking about?
There's a flaw in your programming, Janet.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that?
I think that's quite something. Did you expect to be so engrossed by Detroit Become Human? When you heard about... Do you remember where you were when you heard about Detroit Become Human?
Yes. Owen pinged us and said, I'm going to play this game when it comes out.
Yeah, can we... I would not have no idea what Quantic Dream was, which is the studio behind this, or David Cage, which is he's like the mastermind behind these sort of storybook adventure game titles that have been released over the last couple of years. That all have this sort of dark atmosphere and very, very specific viewpoint. I would have no idea what these were if it weren't for Owen right here, who exposed me to Heavy Rain a couple years ago.
Yeah, so these games, they're not for everybody. They're heavy on the storytelling, on the choices you make. They had previously put out these games. The most recent games were their big hit Heavy Rain, which was this like serial killer drama game. And you control like 4 different people in the same way you do Detroit. But, the game, I feel like it got a lot of praise when it came out. But it's like they were still clearly figuring things out the way this game goes, like with all your branching paths. And the plot was like kind of wonky at times and
like weirdly European, Canadian, like the voice acting was
like French Canadian accents that were all over the place.
Where is it set? It's set in Boston or Baltimore or something. It was like some
Heavy Rain?
Yeah, some like Eastern Seaboard,
not really clear.
Dark metropolis.
Yeah.
But all the people there, like the voices range from like strange Boston accent, to like weird, unidentifiable like Montreal.
Right. And the kids are like, the kids are like, please, Dad, may I have a balloon? I would really like to have one. It's like a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Right, and then other people are like from Boston, like Agent Norman Jaden.
Hey, I'm Agent Norman Jaden.
Anyway, we're getting off topic. So now this game comes out, Detroit Become Human, and it's like the most beautiful looking, first of all, I would say.
I think this is, never having played a full David Cage game before, I think this is the game that he was born to make.
It wasn't, I didn't know if I could do it, but I think I was pretty prepared. It's like Telltale, but extra, very extra. But it was a structure that I was familiar with. And somehow a totally different thing. Tone-wise, infrastructure was different. Like, great.
I was military when I was playing this game. No distractions. If the door rang in the middle of it, I started to sweat.
That's good. That's commitment.
Yeah, and if you do pause it, because you need to run to the bathroom, you have to. It's been 4 hours. You get pause screen Chloe, and that doesn't alleviate your anxiety at all, because she is talking to you, and she wants to know when you're coming back, and she has commentary on what you just did, and she is realistic as fuck.
Chloe being the girl in the title menu screen.
Yes.
Put us on the main menu.
Welcome to the Detroit Experience. I'm an android, and I'll be your hostess.
Quit out to the main menu.
Yeah.
Chloe's gonna be there for you when you get back. And she's heard you pee also, so consider that.
Yeah. She made an impression on you, clearly.
She really did.
Yeah.
I was surprised. It even had like a thoughtful way to do the load screen. That was totally within the world. And she comes back and becomes a character. And it puts you into the position of being like, I am a human with AIs in my life. Well, PlayStation is an AI. It's been here this whole time.
Whoa.
Brilliant. Right? Whoa. You didn't think about that. PlayStation is the ultimate cyber life robot. They can do everything for you, Owen. Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a few decades away from having them cook for us and make our beds and tuck us in at night. It does tuck us in at night, actually. I think that's fair to say, right?
PlayStation?
Yeah, metaphorically speaking. Come on, Aaron, you know it does.
I'm not quite getting the whole AI thing quite yet. I think we're a ways off from it asking to be free.
Deny it all you want, but it's coming for you, and you're gonna buy the fuck out of it when it does.
Yeah, maybe.
Remember, this is not just a story. This is our future.
I think we need to go to the level up, which is what is this world? Where we can have a robot in our menu screen.
We need to zoom out for a second. We need to talk about the plot. So, who thinks they can do a good summary of what happens in this story?
Well, okay. We're in the mid-2030s, right? The setting is, of course, Detroit.
Michigan.
Which I will never...
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
You're saying it's not...
Right.
You're saying it's not Fort Myers, Florida.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
The setting is Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
For some reason. So, we're in Detroit, which has been revitalized by a brand new manufacturing boom. Because humanity has learned how to create convincing artificial life. Humanoid androids, which has become a facet of every portion of your life, emotional, physical, replaced entire sectors of the workforce, and created a lot of malaise. Unemployment is high. People are turning to a drug known as red ice.
Apparently bees are going extinct. That's in
Really?
that's in one of the magazines you read. Yeah, there's a lot of little fun facts that don't really matter for the plot. Like the whole thing about... Remember... There's a whole thing about, like, America and Russia are fighting for control of Antarctica, right? Or no,
yes.
I remember that.
I kept thinking that was going to come to a head.
Nope, never does.
And, like, the Russian premier was going to, like...
nope.
Or, like, the prime minister was going to come to America and be like...
Nope.
You're androids!
Yeah.
They are truly human!
Yeah, nope. Never happens. Never happens.
Well, look, also politically, Elizabeth Warren is president.
Right, President Warren.
President Elizabeth Warren.
She has an Icelandic accent or something.
Yeah, she's
but
got
I
some
think it's her.
affect. Yeah, I think it's her too. Her virulently pro-consumer liberalism has been replaced by a sort of generally centrist anti-android kind of bent, which is confusing. But I guess 10 years can do a lot to a person's politics. Yeah, so this is where we start our story, right? And everything is not well because these androids, these humanoid androids, have begun to start malfunctioning in interesting ways, right? That sort of seem like they're gaining a level of instability and sentience that is making people uncomfortable. Just scattered cases for now, but that's starting to happen. And that's where we join our first player character.
Which, I hate to keep cutting back to you, but I think in order to describe Connor, the android, we need to get Aaron's hot take. Because I date Aaron, and I've never seen him this in love with someone.
Sorry.
You guys are dating?
Yeah,
Wait.
We've been keeping it from Owen.
Shit.
Owen, sometimes
Did you not?
when one podcaster loves another podcaster very much.
I feel like I'm going to keep tapping my R2 button. I'm about to activate my free will and just start punching people
through the wall.
This is, yeah.
The point
stay tuned.
is,
Anyway.
Aaron's leaving me for Connor. Tell us why.
Well, I'm not going to leave you for Connor, okay?
All right.
Because we can coexist.
Ooh.
But yes, do I want to be Connor? Yes. Do I want to be with Connor? Yes. Okay.
Connor,
That doesn't sound like coexisting. I feel like
you can be there too.
Captain Allen, my name is Connor. I'm the android sent by CyberLife.
if you haven't played this game and you're trying to picture Connor right now,
describe.
Yes.
think about Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner with better hair.
With better hair. I mean, just like a prettier face. in
Prettier
general.
face, just like a better looking, better hair, better personality.
Yeah.
Jared Kushner.
Yes. And he's an android sent from CyberLife.
Yeah.
He's an android sent by
Please and
CyberLife.
thank you. He's very polite.
And he's a detective. He's a cop.
Yeah.
He's an android cop.
And he's damn good at what he does. Well, possibly.
He's been sent.
Depending on how good you are at the game.
Exactly.
Which, yeah. Anyway.
Which varies.
Yeah.
Right. But he's been sent. His mission, which you will vary in terms of effectiveness, is to figure out what's going on with these deviant androids. So wherever a deviant shows up, Connor's not far behind.
Hi, Daniel. My name is Connor. How do you know my name? I know a lot of things about you.
Connor, I think even the negative reviews agree that Connor is the most compelling story of this entire game. Connor's story begins with him. He's the most recent model of android. He's brand new, straight off the presses. CyberLife's most recent invention.
He's a T-800 something.
Right, yes.
That's correct.
But in some ways, he's the most robotic. And the actor who can't say enough good things about him.
Brian DeChart.
Brian DeChart knocked it out of the park.
If we're saying your name wrong, please write to us.
Please follow us and tell us because we love you, but we don't know how to say your name, DeChart.
I know. But we have been calling it DeChart Become Human.
For the last 10 minutes or so.
Because we love you, right?
His performance emphasizes this sort of stilted, not inhuman, but very, very tightly controlled by what we would assume programming. And that makes his journey towards becoming a potential deviant and feeling feelings and becoming best friends with his gruff partner, his gruff human cop partner.
His alcoholic gruff human partner.
His alcoholic, suicidal with a secret gruff human partner.
Androids killed his son. That's the secret.
Played by Clancy Brown.
He's amazing.
Oh, so good.
The most satisfying. This is the most satisfying journey of the three. Not to say that the other two voice actors and mocap actors, don't do a good job, but yeah, I love Connor. I'm in love with Connor.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Brian. It's true.
I'm in love with Connor. I haven't met Brian.
Okay.
I'm sure
All
he's
right.
really nice, but
Fair point.
yeah. Anyway, so that's Connor. That's one of your player characters.
Mm-hmm. And then I think after you meet the dashing Connor, you meet the sweet and vulnerable Kara. Is that right? Because you're in the Android store,
yes.
and Todd is like, "Did you fix her?"
Right.
Oh, and you want to take us through that story?
So, starts out, you're playing an android named Kara, and you are taken home by this guy, Todd, this dad, who it's mentioned that the last model of Kara that he had, got hit by a car or something. Something bad happened to it, so he needs a new model. So he brings home this new model to his daughter, Alice.
You do the housework, the washing, you cook the meals, and you take care of... God damn it, where the fuck's the brat gone now? Alice!
Yeah, I didn't like what was happening.
Because the vibe is so scary.
No, it's not a good vibe. It's a very uncomfortable
bad
vibe.
vibe.
Yeah. The game tells you, do as you're told. And, tensions come to a boil. And Todd, the abusive asshole dad, is yelling you to just stay where you are, do as you're told. Mm-hmm. And you have the option to just simply do nothing.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Or you can just start activating your free will, as I like to say it. So you just stood there.
I stood there.
And what happened?
About 5 minutes real time. And I listened to him beat his daughter badly.
Oh, that's awful.
It was horrible. And I thought, okay, well, this is something I need to live with. Because I'm a housebot and I'm bound to this duty. I'm not just going to stray from my programming. I could get hurt. Or, what's in it for me? I don't mean that.
But you did escape the house eventually, right?
At the very last second that I find, before he kills Alice, I was just like, maybe the game wants me to break out. Aaron's nodding his head. So then I did. I broke through and I ran upstairs and she was like, I'm really hurt. And I was like, I'm so sorry, Alice. Jesus. Yeah, she took you so long.
So I didn't even think about that. You can just let him kill his daughter, Alice.
I think you probably can.
That's insane. Because I assumed he would kill you, Kara, the robot, no problem. But he kills his daughter. This freaking game. I don't even know.
Or he gets close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I waited many beats too long. Many beats.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Why? What did you do?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I think I had the benefit of hearing about your playthrough a little bit, hearing about Owen's, but my Kara was ready. She saw the gun upstairs earlier. She knew he was on the red ice. And she had no problem getting that gun and ending him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Red ice, we should say, is this game's version of crystal meth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Red ice is like bath salts,
Yeah.
crocodile, and crystal meth rolled up into one beautiful red crimson crystalline package.
And when people smoke it, they're like something. It sounds like something horrible's happening to them, but apparently it's awesome.
You smoke it out of a little crack pipe,
Yeah.
and it makes you beat your androids.
Yeah.
It makes you really mean to androids.
Yeah.
I was reading, because I felt like, okay, I should do my due diligence and read up on how the world reacted to Detroit Become Human before we did this. And people didn't like the storyline. People thought that it made domestic abuse a plot line and a plot device and made a little girl who was the victim of domestic abuse an object for the plot in a way that was inappropriate. And I don't think I agree.
I have bigger plot issues than that.
Well, okay, right. The game is ham-fisted and uses a lot of big societal themes in ways that are a little easy.
Like, okay, Owen, David Cage is French, right?
Yes.
Does he not know that the civil rights movement happened in America?
I mean, look, here's the thing about, I feel like with his games, the Quantic Dream games, they are so serious. Like, they really want you to take them seriously. And like, we are dealing with mature themes, adult themes. I don't think they're necessarily making light of it. I think it's just hard to tackle these issues in a video game that's going to be good and totally respectful.
I think you could be respectful and not feel like you were playing a game that thinks it invented the Holocaust, or...
Yeah. You got the impression that they thought they invented it?
Yes, I think we go there and it's presented, and it's totally tone. I think if you want to recreate that theme in a video game, there are ways to do that. But for me, it was just like, oh my god, can you believe humans have turned on androids this way? Camps? Are you serious?
Yeah.
They can't leave? It was like, that was the tone.
See, it seemed to me like it was very, very, very consciously evoking. Like it was like, yes, it's just like the Civil War.
Okay, I have a problem with that too.
Right, that's right. That's the thing that I think, right.
If you're gonna recreate the Holocaust, give us context why. Like, I feel like at that point, the narrative should mention it. Or there should be someone like, oh, didn't we do this already in human history? Like, right? Rather than plucking it out.
I think they want you to draw that conclusion yourself.
I feel like if that happened, I would be even more uncomfortable if somebody's like, it's just like 1945.
Oh, I wanted that so bad.
Don't do that.
I was like, ground
I wouldn't put it
me.
past this game script to say that, though.
They did.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, I think that would make it worse for me, at least.
Let's talk about, this seems like a good transition into Markus. As a character.
Take us
Just
through it.
because his journey definitely surprised me the most out of any character's journey. Yeah, I didn't know where the Markus plot was going, because it starts out, you're a caretaker for this, like, old artist.
Carl Manfred. Do
And
better. That's not a good thing.
you live a very boring existence, like doing errands for him. And then, through a series of events, you end up leading a revolution of androids. And you go to some potentially pretty dark places, depending on your choices.
I mean, you have to rebuild your own body in a graveyard. That's pretty dark.
Yeah. And that's what shifts you into this revolutionary figure.
Exactly.
You come out of that junkyard and you're like ready to start some shit.
You become the leader of Jericho in Long Island.
In Long Island, Detroit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you meet up with a bunch of other androids that are on the run that don't really have a place at this place. You meet up at this place, Jericho.
Jericho.
Yeah.
This is Jericho? It's a refuge for those who don't want to be slaves anymore.
You start plotting this revolution, and how violent or non-violent you make it is up to you. Mm-hmm. Now, Aaron, I know you went the more peaceful route.
I did.
Yeah, tell us about that. Pussy.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was, I mean, you know, I had whenever I play these games, it's a mix of, like, role-playing, but also, like, taking a step back and being like, is this satisfying for me as a story, you know? Like, is this building up to a satisfying arc that makes sense as a story to me and that I will enjoy having had some part in creating, right? And so yes, my Markus was very nonviolent because he got himself into this situation by being violent. He became human. He became a deviant by pushing, Carl Manfred's, delinquent son who was giving him shit. He was abusing him and I pushed him. Quick side note, his son was on the red ice. Which again, androids seem to have really shaken up this world, but the creation of red ice probably did as much, if not more, you know? So anyway, just a quick PSA. Be careful with that ice.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't slip on the ice.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and so in that moment of violence, his whole nice pampered life sort of fell apart. And that was my sort of starting point. And so I thought it made sense that then he was like, no, violence isn't the answer. It's only going to lead to more violence, like blah, blah, blah. And so yeah, that is how I played it. It was super soft boy. I did a lot of tagging. There were a lot of options that were like, do you want to do something rad or do you want to tag this wall with your little logo? And I was like, okay, I'll tag it. I kept being handed grenades and bombs and Markus kept quoting Gandhi. And, really? He quoted Gandhi once, I think. Wow. He did the eye for an eye thing.
Yeah. No, I did the opposite. I wanted to see how far he could take this.
Right. And Markus has, I don't know, in some ways I feel like Markus is a classic video game hero more than the other characters, which actually made his story seem a little more predictable in my experience.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is that you have a love interest, a sort of like a hot.
And you blew it.
She didn't like. She doesn't think God is cool,
she's constantly encouraging you to go the violent path.
Right. She was the one who was trying to give me those grenades and bombs.
Exactly.
To whom I was quoting Gandhi.
Yeah.
And apparently that's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not sexy.
Right. Not sexy. Right. So that's Markus. Revolutionary. Leader. Celibate in my.
Incel.
Yeah. It's incel. Right.
Oh, and your Markus was incredibly violent? Am I hearing that?
Yeah. Well, it starts out with, a simple killing, right? Like he shot the guy in the control room in the tower that you're trying to broadcast your message from.
That was the first time he took a life.
I think anyway. Okay. And from there, it was just like, well, we're already on this path, but I didn't expect, there's a part where you lead a peaceful march of androids down the street. And in my game, it turned into this violent standoff with the police. And you're constantly having to make choices are you gonna escalate this? Or are you gonna walk away? Are you gonna do this? And those choices were so grueling, making those how far am I gonna take this? Every time I would choose to take it a step further, I would be like, wow, it really does feel like I took a step further. Way to go, game. It lands. It felt like the choices matter.
And see, that is actually something that I give the game credit for, too. Yeah. And that I forgive it a little bit for its ham-fisted, appropriation of, civil rights themes and, even Holocaust themes. I agree that it's territory that we should all be respectful of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are, like you were saying, during a peaceful protest that you're leading, right? You have your people who you care about.
Yeah. And
you have cops that are firing on you. And it gives you the choice. Not just press A for peaceful, press B for violent, It does give you the choice about 3 or 4 times during that protest.
Yeah.
Well, your people are being shot. And you know that you can die in this game and the game will go on, It gives you the choice 3 or 4 times. Do you want to just let this happen to your people, And you can see a lot of people die because of your decisions. And if you keep making that choice, eventually you start to feel, fuck, am I crazy? Which, not to simplify it or, compare the android struggle to any real person's struggle for personhood. But, I think it gives you some sliver of an idea of the question that arises in a civil rights leader's or any sort of movement leader's mind.
I agree.
When their people are being, hurt or killed or disrespected or any combination of those things. Well, do I keep doing this? Am I doing the right thing? I don't think that was reflected in Markus very much.
It was for me.
Oh, really?
I got the litmus test of who I would be as a revolutionary.
Interesting.
Did you guys because for me, what Owen is saying, it matters. Everything feels like an evolution. And I started out with every intention of being peaceful. But then I saw cops hit my people one too many times. And I was just like, fuck you. If I sing a song, I'm giving up and I'm not gonna let this happen anymore. And then I was just like, yes, Julia, that's who you would be. You fucking get violent when you have to. You try really hard to stay peaceful, but sometimes you can't.
Right.
And it really lands how you got there. You don't even need a flow chart at the end of it. You're like, I get it.
I did the right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Markus's speeches, again, I thought the performance was good. And there were parts of his story that I was very swept away by. And thought
Carl
that they
Manfred.
I like Carl, yeah. I like Carl Manfred. I thought it was cool. I liked his, thought they could have gone further too, cause that is a thing of rich boys who suddenly turn into revolutionaries and having to explain your pampered past, You weren't a sex bot that got abused. You were a rich kid that got a bad role and now all of a sudden you're the man of the people. Explain that. And there's a moment that flirts with that, but it's not really taken to the height that it could be.
You're still a slave, though.
Sure, but did you have as bad as a lot of these other androids that have been, dragged behind trucks and stuff? Like, no. But at the same time, I felt it, I don't know, whenever he was giving speeches and stuff, I thought it was a little bland. I didn't love his whole, it felt the most straightforward, whereas Connor always felt, my boy Connor always felt like new and fresh and interesting and difficult to figure out, like his, and long, the payoff took so long to get there.
Yeah. Well, Connor's, it was his struggle between, like, do I become a deviant and work with my fellow android, or do I, like, complete the mission that I've been given by, that was much more of a struggle for me. Whereas with Markus, I knew right away who this guy is.
Sure, I'm gonna be the leader.
Yeah,
of this.
and it really comes to a head like later on in the game when Markus and Connor meet for the first time. And Markus is like, oh, I've heard of you, you're Connor. And he's like, that's right. I'm Connor, I'm an android sent by Cyberlife. And that was one of those, pull my hair out decisions of like, is Connor gonna complete his mission and shoot Markus in the face right now?
Really? You considered that?
I considered it. Yeah.
What are you doing? You're one of us. You can't betray your own people.
But I won't hesitate to shoot if you give me no choice.
As Markus, I didn't often feel, I did feel the threat, and they were really good at making me feel the threat. But in terms of like my blood boil or being like, God, this is like awful, like I want to help them get out of this, that was Kara to me. I felt that more with Kara. Kara and Alice, the little girl who you're taking care of, you go through every like child's nightmare.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, now you're on the streets and
You're in a haunted candy house.
Right, you're gonna first spend the night with a stabby robot who loves stabbing in an abandoned house with a corpse upstairs. Okay, that's where you're gonna spend the night. Tomorrow night, you're gonna be at a guy who like takes people apart for fun, like a mad scientist with like evil robot monsters in his basement. Okay, and then the third night, just for a little change, because we've had enough, we're gonna spend the night in an abandoned amusement park.
There may or may not be a part where you run across a highway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like an 8-lane highway.
Yeah, try not to get hit by a car.
Right, yeah.
On a highway.
Yeah.
Alice, you're freezing cold.
I'm okay. I'm not so cold.
I want to talk about replays. I know they happened for all of us. Now that we've sort of set the stage of who we're working with and what the idea is, I want to know, give me a moment where you went back. And I have this too, so there's no shame. It's fine.
Yeah. They want you to have shame.
Yes,
because Chloe, who we talked about a little earlier, but she's a secondary character too. Chloe's like the first robot that passed a Turing test in this universe. And she's like this very, very beautiful young girl.
She's
not young
okay.
girl. She's like, she's early 20s.
She's not so hot.
All right, let's not get into this.
Chloe's very jealous.
I'm threatened by every woman.
Yeah. And so she's in your main menu screen.
Very territorial about Aaron. Don't even look at him.
And this is addressed to the video game robots.
Listeners,
world, so
I'm talking to you.
You're talking to the listeners that are video game robots.
We understand.
She's talking to you, Connor.
Yeah.
Hi, Julia.
So in the main menu screen, right, Chloe is basically your guide to Detroit. And you see in her eyes flashes of instability and like emotion. And I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool menu screen, and she talks to you. And one of the things that she says when you're looking through what you've done is, the people who made me suggest that you play through this one time without going back and changing your choices. They want you to do that. That's what you should do. You can go back and change something, but don't do that.
And I looked her in the eye and I was like,
Right.
Well, I didn't want to. I really didn't want to reload and replay anything, but I had to. Well, at least I thought that I had to. Because my Connor, he was just he failed at his mission a lot throughout the game. Like, he was not succeeding, and every time you would have to go back and check in at CyberLife, check in with his boss, Amanda, she'd be like, so did you stop the deviants, Connor? I'd be like, they got away. But the lieutenant and I are working on leads and we'll have something soon. And it was a lot of that. And every time Amanda being like, okay.
the trust goes down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this model is really working at its full capacity. He's not, because I don't know. For me, it was a combination of like, I guess I didn't find clues in time, or I just did something wrong because my Connor was just constantly failing. So like the first time he died in my game was pretty early on when you're interrogating this android that you believe murdered a guy, and you're interrogating him, and my Connor was just interrogating him too hard. He was just too rough. It's too harsh. So then the scene ends with the android just going completely insane, trying to destroy himself, beating his head on the table. So there's like blue goo coming out, and he's flipping out. The other cops run into the interrogation room to subdue him. The android, he's bashing his head. He grabs one of the cops' guns, shoots you, Connor, and himself. So I thought Connor was just dead. I was like, fuck this. I was like, this is the first third of the game. Like, and the game was so, like everything I read was like, when your characters die, they die for real. The stakes are real in this game. So I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna miss out on so much of the game if Connor's dead in the first third, if he's dead in the first act. But then, of course, I found out later that apparently,
as long as you're working for CyberLife, whenever Connor dies, they build a new Connor.
Yeah.
And they, I assume, upload his memory
And he
to
comes
the
back
new
and he's like,
model.
hi, I'm Connor.
Right.
I'm still Connor from CyberLife.
Which I wish I had known, because then I wouldn't have had to replay that interrogation scene and do things differently so he gets to live and continue playing the game.
When I texted Owen to say I was starting Detroit Become Human, he said, great game, be careful, Connor's extremely fragile.
Yeah.
And he dies at the drop of a hat. Don't feel any shame in going back and bringing him back to life. And I was like, noted.
And see, I did that too. Connor was killed in a mass shooting. In my playthrough.
Yeah.
Ooh, in the control tower?
Yeah, and he was just, it was complete chance, and I didn't know that you could come back either. And so I hadn't reloaded before then, and it's pretty far in the game, it's like halfway through.
No.
And I was like, I really wanted to be a good boy about this, and go all the way through, and have my actions have consequences, but you know what? I'm gonna miss you, Connor, too much. And so I reloaded.
Yeah, my Connor would either die or just fail. Like, there was another mission that I had to replay a bunch of times because he just wasn't getting the right information out of the guy. Like, there's a part later on where you go to the house of this dude. What's his name? He's the
Kamsky.
Kamsky.
He created androids.
He created the androids, and you have to go talk to him and interrogate him and find out if he knows anything about the deviants and what's going on with them. And he gives you a test. He's like, are you really an unfeeling robot, or is there like some human part of you, Connor?
Right.
So he gives Connor a gun, and he tells him, you gotta shoot my sex bot Chloe here. Mm-hmm. And if you shoot her, I'll give you whatever information you want. So first I was like, no, Connor's not doing this. And he chose not to shoot her. And Lieutenant Hank was very impressed with me.
Hank loves it.
Yeah. But I didn't get the information I needed. So then cut to like, you're at the police office and they're like, your chief is like, well, you failed, Connor. And Hank, Connor, you're going back to CyberLife for deactivation and data wipe. I was like, okay, I guess I failed.
I don't think they make a new Connor after that.
Yeah, so that maybe I really did fail.
I think Connor is dead forever.
Yeah,
after
so
that.
I reloaded and replayed that scene in the house with the guy giving me the gun. So I did it again. And this time I shot Chloe in the head.
You shot Chloe?
I had to. And he was
so
and so the guy's like, okay, now I will answer one question. And Connor, totally asked the wrong question.
Connor was like, how you doing?
Connor was like, what is RA90 or whatever that thing is that you keep seeing on the wall?
Yeah.
And Kamsky's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's nothing. See ya, have a nice day. But you still didn't get the information that you needed to, find Jericho, because you're trying to track down Markus and all the rebels.
And at this point, Hank thinks you're a monster.
Right, Hank thinks you're a monster now. He's like, you're just a fucking machine. Okay, you're starting to make headway with Hank, too. All out the window.
You're a lowlife. You don't feel a thing, do you? A machine, that's what you are. You're just a fucking machine!
So now I asked the wrong question, so I reloaded and played the scene again. And this time I was like, where's Jericho?
After for a second time executing
Chloe.
Basically a human being.
And then I finally had the proper information that I needed to continue my mission.
Do you guys hold yourself to any kind of replay moral code? Because I do, and it's basically like, if it was a choice I made consciously and it didn't give me the outcome I wanted, that's on me. Too bad. Mea culpa game. But if I feel like I was tricked and I didn't understand that I was supposed to keep pressing X, or that I was supposed to, I don't know. Keep pressing X is usually what it is.
Yeah, if you feel like the expectations are clear,
yes,
Yes.
Okay,
so then if you die, it really is your fault,
right,
and not because you felt tricked by the game.
Exactly.
See, so you didn't reload unless you felt like you had been unfairly tricked somehow.
Correct, and that really only happened one notable time. I feel like it was Connor a lot for you guys, but for me, I was bad to Kara one time by accident.
What happened?
I was bad to
What
her.
happened?
So we're at Rose's house, the very kind lady who takes you in and is going to try to get you to Canada.
Yep.
Where everybody coexists peacefully.
Sure.
Justin Trudeau, who's dictator for life, has passed very, very lenient android laws.
Just like we knew he would.
Remember the other thing in the newspaper, how like professional sports teams are now allowed to have one android on the team?
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the rule. You can have one. Like the New England Patriots can have one android.
Can have one Connor.
Right, exactly. Anyway, continue.
It's just we were hiding at Rose's house. I'm Kara. Alice and Luther are with me. Rose is like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna ignore my asshole son. I'm gonna get you to Canada. I just need to go out and get some firewood or something. Yeah. And she leaves, and you're alone with her son who, hates you and is, anxious that you're there and is like, the cops are gonna come, I know it. And you're like, chill, of course they're not. And they do. They do come, much to everyone's dismay. So you, as Kara, you have to make a choice. How are you going to navigate this situation? You gotta hide all the androids that are in the house. You have 30 seconds. They put a timer up on the screen, as they do sometimes, before you need to answer that door because he keeps knocking. And you have a series of choices of how you can play that moment. And I was just like, I'm Kara. I'm gonna smooth talk him. I'm beautiful. How hard is this gonna be? So I shut one door to the laundry room so he can't see in. And I tell Alice and Luther to go hide in the kitchen, so they both cram into a little closet. But Rose has other shit around her house. She's got blue blood for transfusions. She's got some robot clothes from wounded people. She helps robots. And the screen is do you want to hide these other things? And I was like, nah, he's not gonna ask. I'm Kara. I'm a smooth talker. It's fine. No, the cop comes in. I say, officer, would you like some coffee? I fail to make the coffee because I'm like, what do I do with my hands?
Wait, you failed to make coffee?
Aaron, I'm very confused. I'm like, I don't even know do humans drink coffee? I forget. I can't drink it, so it'll just be weird. I overthought it, is what I'm saying.
Wait, so when the game says go make, you're like, would you like some coffee? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to make coffee.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the entire thing is you have a coffee, you pour it into a cup.
Yeah.
How did you fail?
I didn't see the option to make the coffee. I got very lost. And I was like, oh.
So you offered him coffee and then you didn't give him coffee.
Because you didn't know what to do.
I did not.
And so at some point was he like, you didn't give me any coffee.
So how about that coffee, huh?
Android.
No, he just got
no chance
sour.
for that coffee, huh?
He went sour in the face like I had lied to him. And I was just hovering around him, not making coffee, being like, what do you think, officer? We're good here, right?
Oh, that's...
And he kicked in the kitchen door. He found Luther and Alice because I didn't shut it all the way. Fuck you, Detroit Become Human. A door is a door.
Stone cold your fault.
Oh man, I didn't shut it. I left an inch open. He was like, there's a boot down there. Kicks it open, shoots Luther in the face.
Shot Luther?
Alice is like, no! Why would you do that?
I didn't think that could happen in that part.
That cop was super respectful and nice to me.
Yeah, I had no issues with that cop. Because I didn't even hide everything.
Because I gave him a coffee. Did you give him a coffee?
I think I did.
Oh, fuck,
I
guys.
think this guy was just not, he needed some caffeine.
So all of this hinges on coffee. I was so tricked. I mean, come on.
It's a good life
That's
lesson.
your fault.
I can't finagle my way around that. If I
fault.
don't give you espresso, you're going to shoot my friend in the head.
That's your fault.
That is, I
Damn.
felt so betrayed by David Cage and his whole team. So I had to redo that because Alice was going to be traumatized for life, and I was holding dead Luther in my hands. And Chloe gave you I went back. I paused because I needed to just get a drink or something, and she was just like, "Wow, I can't believe you killed Luther. Who are Kara and Alice going to travel with now? They're going to be all alone out there." And I was like, is this happening? The last thing I need is you riding me. I feel bad enough as it is.
So you had to replay it.
I'm gonna data wipe you. Yeah, I data wiped it. And in my flowchart, I will say it was you and no other people made this decision. Everyone gave the cop coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, great. I mean, how was I supposed to know? Fuck.
I'm sad Luther died. I really liked him.
Look, the moment where Alice is revealed to be a child android is not surprising by the time you get there, necessarily. I would have been surprised, but I feel like you guys picked up on the clues, and then we talked about it, and it was like, oh...
No, not really.
Oh, you were surprised?
Yeah, I mean, didn't make that much of an impression on me, because she's already so wooden in the way she is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
If she wasn't an android, she was a fucking
She's
robotic
back.
human,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But it matters to me in the way that it affected Kara, I think. Because when it comes to light that Alice is an android like you, she's a little disappointed in the reveal. And I thought, what a great choice. Like, that's beautiful, because taking care of Alice did something to Kara. It endowed her with a little bit of pride and responsibility, and I think the reveal makes her feel less special.
Yeah.
And you see her process that, and I was like, that is a great, like, totally human reaction. And you see the weight of her knowing that she invented this myth. You do flash back to see all the ways you did it, and you just glossed over it. And people do that. That's totally a human thing also. And then you see her realize that now there's almost less at stake. It's disappointing. They're trapped in this cycle of caring and being cared for without any evolution, really, because Alice isn't going to grow up. She's a child robot, and the stakes are different. And you see Kara make the choice to make that still important.
Or not. You have the choice to, like, I don't know how far you can take this, but I remember when you go back to Alice, after Luther has been like, it doesn't make any difference, like, you love each other. You can go back to her and you can either be like, I love you, or there's another option that, of course, I didn't choose because I'm not a monster. There's another option that's, like, cold. So you can be like, I don't love you anymore because you're like me. Which is fucked up, but I wonder what it's like. You're right that it's a very, very complicated emotional choice for a plotline that oftentimes is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I was so surprised by how complex and rich and lifelike that is. Like, that feels very real to me.
We'll be together forever, won't we, Kara?
Yes.
I do want to hear how it played out for both of you. And then I will tell you my ending, which is 0% of the population.
That's impossible.
It's what the TV said.
Your flowchart said that 0% of the world population got the ending that you got.
I'll just tell you. Look, okay, so Markus, he was revolutionary. He was standing up for justice. He tagged...
Violent revolution.
Well, when necessary. Yeah, he shot that guy in the control tower in the back of the head. Because he didn't want him to blow up the spot. And I would do it again, honestly.
It all starts with that.
And he really
gateway.
wanted North to like him. That was part of it.
Right.
That's also another gateway. Is if a pretty girl gives you a grenade, do you use it? Yeah.
The answer is yes. I mean, when I fake kissed her at the bus stop, she was like, don't stop. And when Aaron did it, she was like, don't touch me.
Right. You can do the classic, like, the cops are coming, what do we do? Like, oh, I guess we're gonna make out, and like, there is sexual tension here, and wow, this is interesting. Right. And you're saying that she was like bashful when you did it.
Yeah.
And to me, she was like, I'm going to file a complaint with HR.
Yeah.
That was really inappropriate.
Not okay.
Exactly.
Very different responses. Yeah.
That said, that's kind of the path that my Markus would have taken of his own accord. It just felt right to me. I felt swept up in making those decisions. We failed the charge that you have to lead. Isn't there a point where you have like a barricade up?
Yeah, there was a Les Mis moment.
There's a late, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to delegate who's going to provide cover fire, like who's going to overwatch.
Yeah.
And who is going to charge.
Yep.
Right, okay. So I thought, what's the worst that could happen? And I switched the duties a lot and after like 30 failed attempts, they were like, you're just not getting in. You're not able to do this part.
Yeah.
So Markus, and maybe this is why I got offered these choices, but North and I got backed into a corner. Things were really bleak. The cops were like, come out with your hands up. And she hands me a trigger for a dirty bomb.
Yep.
And I'm 30. I didn't know what a dirty bomb was, but I was like, oh, I guess it's a really big bomb. What?
So wait, your assumption playing the game was a dirty bomb is a big bomb?
A big bomb.
And they call it dirty because, like...
It's mean. It's mean to make them that big.
It's a dirty trick.
It's a dirty trick.
To
Exactly.
a big bomb.
Exactly.
Okay.
You damn dirty rat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, cool. I mean, like, how bad can it be? We're gonna destroy a little bit of Detroit. We'll all work together, with the robots in charge to, like, bring it back to life.
Right.
No, my friends. I set off, I guess, Google tells me, a nuclear weapon?
It's a conventional bomb with radioactive material, and by detonating it, you scattered radioactive material all over Detroit, making it unlivable for the human.
That was not the plan.
It's like a nuclear bomb, but some would consider lower tech and almost more cruel.
Yeah, actually, my Marcus, we didn't go that far.
And your Marcus was like a violent.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to like rethink everything now.
Guy.
I'm like, I thought my Marcus was bad. Julia,
no, Julia thought was like undisputed.
Julia
war
thought
criminal.
She was setting off a bomb, and it was like a real sneaky trick.
I really like that the story.
Dirty trick bomb.
Yeah.
The story of the android uprising is that Marcus accidentally poisoned the entire metro area of Detroit and like gave millions of people radiation poisoning because he didn't know what.
All of a sudden, the North was like, good job. She like touched my knee.
Yeah.
And then it panned out to show humans dropping like flies. And at this point, Julia, the player, is like, what?
Wow, that's
You
crazy.
shouldn't be doing that. And then it cut to Elizabeth Warren on TV being like, I've just been told that a horrific radioactive bomb has wiped out all of Detroit's population. Who would do this? Only a monster would do this. She like starts to cry a little bit. And I'm on the couch like, oh, fuck.
Right.
But I guess this is the ending I deserve. Maybe we'll... And I held out hope till the last beat that it wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was and they were just being stupid humans and overreacting. No, I think they were all dead.
Yeah, you committed the worst terrorist act.
So what's like the final moment of your Marcus? What was?
Literally him and North walking out into the, I guess, scorched earth? Is that the right word? Marshall Plan style. Like, okay, how are we going to rebuild?
Yeah.
And then a lot of bodies. A lot of human bodies.
Yeah, and does he make like a speech?
No, not really.
He isn't like...
Wait, so you
like,
didn't
my friends!
So you didn't get the ending with Connor, like, at the last second gonna assassinate you?
No.
Oh,
No.
shit.
I didn't see Connor again after he woke up all of his robo-brews.
Oh.
And then it was just like, cool, you're done with Connor.
Yeah, and it's just there.
And Hank was like, nice job, and then he was like,
See, because in my game ends with Marcus... Like, they've won. They haven't set off the bomb, but the androids have still won, and they've taken over, basically.
We won through more acceptable means.
Right, exactly.
Morally.
So he's making... But it's... Yeah. And he's making a speech, and then Connor's up there behind him. You see, like, we go back into Connor's data bank in his head, and Amanda, his boss, is like, you can still complete your mission, Connor. And he pulls out a gun. He pulls a gun out of his pocket. Mm-hmm. And he, like, starts to walk towards Marcus. And then you have the option of, like, do you, like, pull the fail-safe where you don't have to do as you're told? Or do you listen to Amanda and shoot Marcus?
Right, because Kamsky's told you that he always leaves a back door in his programs just in case.
Yeah.
And so you're being overridden, basically, to go against your deviancy. You're being turned back into a robot. Unless you find a way out.
Yeah.
Right.
I just thought that was really cool too because it was very much the end of, like, it felt like we were at the very last moments of the game. And I felt, and like Connor's just standing there behind Mark and I was like, this, Connor needs to do something here. This can't just be the end of the story. And I'm glad that he got that final little, like, are you gonna do one last, like, plot twist and have him off Marcus in front of everyone? And I didn't, but I kind of wish that I had, because I think it's a kind of a crazier ending.
That sounds like a beautiful moment, and I'm sorry I missed that.
It's cool.
Yeah.
You missed it because, because it just wasn't in the cards after that dirty bomb went off.
I did. Oh, so you both know it's dirty bomb.
The tone wasn't right for a celebratory speech after you killed a million people.
Yeah, holy
I didn't even have the option. It might have been. Like, give me a chance. I could pull something together.
You could be like, look.
Oh, guys.
It's going to take some fixing up, but...
Exactly.
I think Detroit's going to have a bright future. Yeah.
Well, what was your ending then?
Okay, so my ending, again, just to reiterate, my Marcus was completely nonviolent. Mm-hmm. After he pushed Carl Manfred's son, and he got like some sort of
Manfred Jr.
head injury, right? Manfred Jr. he decided that violence wasn't the way. And so, we were at that same Les Mis barricade, right? With none of the actual French, 1800s revolutionary spirit, and all of the musical. By which I mean...
You sang.
Yes. The cops were overrunning us, killing my friends. Markus several times used, corrugated steel, plates to, fend off gunfire. He got it in his head that was a good idea, and so he kept doing it.
I was like, do you hear the people
singing the songs of
that's basically what happened. You're
droids.
Yeah.
It is the music of an android that...
I'm warning you, officer.
Right. I wish that Connor and Markus had, a Javert, Valjean confrontation.
Yeah.
Daniel, at last, how do you know my name?
I'm Connor. The android sent by Cyberlife.
Sent by Cyberlife. Yeah. So right, the cops have us cornered. They're wiping us out. Reporters are watching. They're horrified. Public opinion is very high because we've never killed any humans. And then as it seems like they're going to just gun us down in the streets, Markus begins to sing a song. And all of the other androids join in. And that's the moment when President Elizabeth Warren is like, androids are people, stand down.
Good for you. Good job, though. No,
Thank you.
I respect that.
Thank you.
You resisted all the temptations.
Thank you. You know who didn't respect that was North, and so...
Yeah, you didn't make it.
Yeah, but you don't need her.
You
don't need her.
Yeah, I guess android sex isn't that cool anyway. Right? It's not cool.
It might be really amazing.
I mean, you don't know. Yeah.
You don't know.
Okay, we're going to end on this note. I'm going to build a world, a sequel, and you guys are going to tell me how Connor and Kara fit into this, okay?
Okay.
We wake up, it's Julia's playthrough, it's Detroit 2033, a dirty bomb was mysteriously exploded in the middle of town. There are almost no humans left. I mean, there aren't any in Detroit, but they exist, it hasn't totally spread throughout the country. Yeah. So there are some stragglers still alive. Markus is tasked with building a new robot utopia, so that's where he's at. And he is trying to get people together, get the Jericho gang in positions of power, give them businesses, create leadership opportunities, empower everybody. And now robots rule the world, and it's kind of off, it's great. They have political power. There's a robot senator now. And I want to know, Owen, what's Kara up to in this world? Did she get to Canada, or what's going on with her?
I don't know. I would like for her to just find a nice job and just sort of get comfortable and settle in.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she works for BuzzFeed or something.
Is she edgy? I think maybe Upworthy.
Yeah. Upworthy, yeah.
Aaron, what's Connor up to in this sequel, Detroit Become sequel?
In this universe, Detroit is a wasteland. Am I correct?
Well, it's a new land, let's say.
Right, but all the humans have been irradiated
the
and
humans
died.
have died, yes.
Okay, so Connor can't do red ice investigations because there are no humans around to use red ice. Mm-hmm. I think in that case, then Connor becomes an insurance inspector. And he proves that robots are faking insurance claims when they're faking insurance claims, and he narcs them out. Because he's the best narc. I have never felt more emotionally attached and more like I wanted to emulate the biggest narc before. And I love him so much, and he's the hugest narc.
This fire looks like it was set intentionally.
Exactly.
I would keep Connor indoors. I wouldn't let. I would keep him safe out of harm's way,
away from fast moving objects.
Yeah, set him down with some cable, watch reruns of syndication, be like, oh, another episode of the Drew Carey Show, and just relax.
Just let him. Give him space.
I think he's earned it.
Oh. I should also mention, in my world, the ghost of Carl Manfred haunts Markus bad, because my Markus kind of just stood there and let his son beat him to death. Because my orders were not to touch him, and I didn't. And then he got shoved, and he fell on his throat, and he died.
Right.
So I think Carl Manfred kind of hangs over like a dirty specter, and it's just like
a dirty bomb.
Dirty. All right, fine.
He hangs in the air like a dirty bomb.
That's gonna do it for this episode of Controller Freak. We will see you next time, where hopefully I'll get less lip for the choices I make. You fellas can say goodbye to our listeners now. Anything you'd like to add?
No, goodbye.
Great.
Goodbye.
We love you.
Thanks for listening.
We love you.
I'm the android sent by Cyberlife.
We love you guys, and we love everyone who participated in this game, and we love also the composers and writers of Les Mis.
And to chart. To chart become to chart.
Yeah.
Important. Yeah. I keep making all these great to chart puns. Like, oh my god, where did this come from?
Like this is off the charts.
See, that's a chart pun. Chart become the chart. It's not a chart
Are you
pun.
kidding me?
Okay.
I wrote that like an hour ago.
Not a pun.
What's a pun? What's a dirty bomb? What's a pun? This is all subjective.
Find out next time.
Wait.
What is a pun?
No, we need to do this now.
Oh.
Okay.
Jesus.
You said what was your pun? What was your chart pun?
It's off the charts.
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Let's come up with one. What we...
It looks like you've gone unconscious. I'm gonna need to use a chart defibrillator to bring you back to life. What? Oh, that's not a pun. Well, Brian DeChart, we hope you enjoyed an episode that was basically built as a shrine to your talent. We thought you nailed it, bro, and you should be so proud of your work. Listeners, if you ever want to know where else you can see Brian DeChart, you can tweet @ControllerPod and Aaron will respond immediately because he's memorized Brian's IMDb page. Anyway, we hope you'll join us again in 2 weeks for a game that has everything going for it except a storyline. It's big, it's colorful, it's multiplayer, but it's not Fortnite because none of us play that. That's right, guys. It's Overwatch time. Are you with me?